Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here talking about Warhammer Underworlds. Okay, I know it's a weird one, but just go with me. Long story short, I play Kill Team because I like that it's a shorter game than Warhammer 40k, get to play with cool models. That's essentially the definition of Warhammer Underworlds as well as Kill Team. However, it is a card-based game, and there's something that really turns me off about that, which is, you have to buy everything, okay? And the thing is, they have now attempted to change that in the new Warhammer Underworlds Gnarlwood. And that means that I no longer would feel like I have to buy everything, and I can just buy it for the cool models, and that's it. However, I wanted to explain it, because as someone that only casually pays attention to things that aren't Kill Team or 40k, I know they didn't explain it in the best way. And I feel that maybe I could explain it a little bit better. To cut a long story short, if you want to, there are three ways to play the game now. Sorry, once Gnarlwood releases, okay? Okay, so you can buy just your team. That is called the Rivals format. Each team gets their deck, and that's it. And there's no deck building at all. And in theory, these are balanced against each other, okay? You then have something that they're talking about here, which is called Nemesis. This is your deck, plus one other, which I'll discuss in a moment, because I want to make this super clear for people that don't know. I will discuss exactly what the other deck is soon. Or you have, it's called the Championship format, which is everything, okay? Those are your three ways to play. Keep in mind, I'm not an Underworlds player, so I'm going by what other people have said and by what I've read. It's possible I'm incorrect. If so, please do correct me, because I genuinely want to get Gnarlwood and I want to play it. Not as seriously as I play Kill Team, because I realise that Underworlds, that they pitch it as the competitive Games Workshop game, which is fair enough. And it's a deck builder, it lends itself towards that, that's cool. But to me, it's faster to play and it's on a board. So in a very odd way, it is much more casual. Okay, go ahead, go to Warhammer Community, read through this article. There you go, it's good stuff. They do a decent enough job of telling you what everything is, okay? But I wanted to explain it as well. Right. Here has been the problem with Warhammer Underworlds over the past, I'm going to say it's been releasing for 4 years now. And I think that Gnarlwood is season 5. So it's just going into the 5th season, because we had Shadespire, we had the Magic one, I can't remember. Then we had the Beast one. Then we had Harrowdeep. Then we had Nether Maze. Now we're getting... Are we into the 6th year? I can't remember. Whatever. So we're either at 3, 4, 5 or 6 years. There you go. Who knows? Let's just assume this is the 6th season we're going into. Whatever a season may be. Right. The way the game used to work up until now is the only competitive format. So you could... Okay, so every single gang, whatever they're called, whatever warband, would come with a deck that was ready to play straight out of the box. Cool. And you could do that. But they were never ever advertised as this deck is balanced to play in the rest of the game. Never. It was just a deck you could play. Okay? Cool. So then now with from Harrowdeep, which was we're going into Gnarlwood soon. Nether Maze, Harrowdeep. For these three, Gnarlwood isn't out yet. For these two seasons, they have said that the Rivals deck, which is the deck that your warband comes with, is balanced in the Rivals format. Okay? Now, what does the Rivals format mean? As soon as you say the word format, it gets scary, right? But basically, I went out and bought these because I was hyped for Hexbane's Hunters, because that's some traditional OG Warhammer Old World vibe. I was hyped. Apparently they suck though, which, what can you do? And then I went out and got Gore Chosen of Drom. Yep. Because I wasn't hyped on them at first, but then I thought, oh, you know what? Actually, it's a Chaos Warband that's only 3 models. And previously, the only 3 model warbands, I believe, were Stormcast. So that's kind of cool. So let's pick that up, you know? So I went out and bought these. And I also bought this Rivals deck, okay? I'll talk about this in a moment. So it used to be a case. So a Rivals format, scary word, is just the cards that come with your warband. And that's all you need to play. You could just get your warband and the deck that is in here, unbox it, unwrap it from the cellophane, and you are ready to play. And in theory, that is balanced against the rest of the game if you're playing the Rivals format. Okay? Cool. Now, the reason you have to refer to it as a format, because scary word, is because that has only been in place for Hexbane and Nethermaze. So before that, if you had a warband from before that, that was still playable in Rivals, but they had to come up with custom decks for you to buy. So if you wanted to play your first ever warband, Steelheart Champions, you know, the archetypal Stormcast from the very first release, you could play those 3 models, sure, but you then had to go and buy a specific deck like this one, and they told you what that deck was online. That's why it's called a format, because there's a way to play, and then you could play them against anything else in the Rivals format. It was really just a way to make the rest of the teams work that appeared before Harrowdeep. Cool. That's Rivals. That is the most basic way to play, and there's no deck building, okay? You're kind of at the mercy there of, did the game designer get it right? So, I say that Hexbane Hunters, apparently they kind of suck. So if I was to just play the Rivals format, and these were my guys, I would be screwed. Because that's it. Nowhere to go. You know, the designers didn't give me any options, and they are a bad team. Lame. However, for the past few months, 6 months, a year maybe even, if you've been paying attention to Warhammer World in Nottingham, they have been running regular tournaments hosted by Nick Baton, and they have been calling it Rivals Plus. And Rivals Plus has now become an official format called the Nemesis format. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Before Harrowdeep, we also had the main... Obviously, before Harrowdeep, the Rivals format didn't really exist. It wasn't a thing. It was never, ever played at tournaments. Cool. Now, there was the actual way to play the game, which was called the Championship format. And that was essentially every card in the game. There were some stipulations, like you couldn't mix certain cards. There were a few card limitations. There were a few banned cards. But generally, if you wanted to play Hexbane's Hunters, and you can still do this, to be clear. So you can still play it this way. You can get Hexbane's Hunters, and you can get Gore Chosen of Drom, and you can get your Rivals decks, and you can get everything else, every single card in the game, and essentially mix them all into your own 20 card deck. So you can somehow mess around and make these guys work, okay? Now that obviously is going super heavy into deck building, and you have to really know what you're doing to not just net deck, but to know how to play each card in each situation. There's a lot going on there, okay? A lot going on. But this is a huge turn-off for everybody, let's be honest, because you're paying a lot of money. Because, let me tell you the release schedule. You have the big box. I think the big box is every 6 months, actually. Which gives you 2 warbands and like 4 decks, because you get the deck for each warband, plus you get additional cards for each warband. Then you get an additional, in that 6-month period, 2 individual warbands. You have to buy those 2 because you need the universal cards, right? Now you might only use one card from each deck to put into your main deck, but you need them all, of course. long story short, you end up with a game that is actually incredibly expensive for what it is and for how much you're getting out of it, if you will. So they have then attempted to change that. Oh, sorry. And then you also get Rivals decks. Now, these have also been around since Harrowdy. I didn't really get what these were, but allow me to explain it to you. So, again, though, this was an additional problem in that alongside individual warbands being released, you also, since Harrowdy, were getting Rivals decks released. And these can also have universal cards. So not only do you have to buy every single thing with plastic in, you also have to buy every single thing with just card in. And you might not be using it, but you need the cards, right? So, now we have Rivals decks. And these these are just I think it's 32 cards. 12 objective cards, 10 gambit, 10 upgrades, okay? So, yeah, 32 cards. It costs whatever, who cares? Doesn't matter. I believe that they release 4 a year. So that is 2 Rivals decks per season? That's a guess. Don't quote me on that. Now let's talk about the Nemesis format. The Nemesis format is, in my opinion, the way the game should be played and promoted. And don't get me wrong, it's awesome that the championship format exists, but I don't have any interest in playing it, like, at all. Even if you just think about, like, just the turnover and the cards that have to be banned, I just have zero interest in ever playing championship format. I don't think I ever would. Rivals, I can see playing, like, new player, hey, let's just grab our stuff, crack it open, have a play. Forget the deck building, let's just see how this band feels on the board, right? Sounds great. But after you've done that initial break open or a new player, practice run, it is a card game. The ability to modify your deck so that you feel a little bit of ownership over it, I think, is really important. And that's where the Nemesis format comes in. So this is being run at Warhammer World as the name of Rivals Plus for a few months, maybe up to a year now. And it seems to have been doing really well. Let's explain what it is. So the Nemesis format is, as we see here, you take your warband, just like Rivals. You take your warband, your 3 models from Gore Chosen of Drom, and you take their deck, okay? You then take a Rivals deck, okay? So a Rivals deck is something like this. This is, it's just, little pack of cards here, 32 cards, and these all have the universal card symbol on them, which means that they can go into any deck, along with any warband, and they're not locked to a specific grand faction. That's only done if you're looking at, you only have to care about those if you're looking at championship format. So my understanding is that 4 Rivals decks are in rotation at any point. So with my, what's it called, Deadly Depths, with my Deadly Depths Rivals pack, I can play this, any card from this can mix with any card from my Gore Chosen of Drom, and that's my deck. And if I say, you know what, there's some really interesting combos here with Gore Chosen that I think work really well, but actually this one doesn't work well with Hexbane's Hunters, then we can look at what comes in Gnarlwood. You have 2 Rivals decks, Tooth and Claw, Daring Delvers. So I can say, actually, I think that Daring Delvers, the Rivals deck, works really well with Hexbane's Hunters. So instead of mixing Deadly Deaths with Hexbanes, I will mix Daring Delvers. And at some point these will rotate out, so you will still then be using your Warbands cards, but Daring Delvers will, in a year, rotate out, and you'll have to try a different Nemesis deck, Rivals deck. And that's it. So, in theory, your expenditure in this game is now whichever warband you want, which is going to be usable for indefinitely, and 1 Rivals deck a year. Obviously, you can buy more. If you want every Rivals deck, you can do that. But if you find something you really like, you can buy that and the Rivals deck, and then once your Rivals deck rotates out in a year, buy the next Rivals deck. There you go. Or, if you don't want to do that, keep the Rivals deck, keep the Warband deck, and just play Championship format, because then they're still legal, I believe. I think. I don't really understand the Championship format, and I don't want to. I don't want to play it. That's too much. There you go. Gosh, did I explain that? Nemesis format is the format that I believe we should all play. That I want to play. And if there's a tournament that isn't running it, I'm not going to go to it. There you go. All right? Simple enough. Therefore, I obviously believe we should all play it. And then you take the Warband cards here, and you take a Rivals deck, and you just pick a few cool cards that you can obviously see work from the Rivals deck, and a few that you don't think work from your Warband deck, and that's it. This is all you need. This here, in theory, is all you need to be a top-tier competitive player. The question becomes, what is the community going to do? Is the community going to get behind this new way to play, this new format, and say, yep, we're going to run all the way with this. We are going to try and reinvigorate the scene. We are going to try and draw in the new players with this more easily accessible format, and we are going to make sure that people know that if you want to play this game cheaply and in a perhaps more balanced way, that doesn't require as much in-depth deck building, then we have your back. That is the format we are running. Or is the Nemesis format only ever going to be run at Warhammer World, and it's going to continue to be a success there because it's got an amazing scene there, but what's everywhere else going to do? To give you a slight hint, at last year's LGT, I believe there were 11 Underworlds players. And at LVO in America, there were under 20. Wait, were there 8? No, I think there were under 20. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and pretend that I misremember that. There were under 20, or they were like 21 or something. It was around the 20 mark. For a competitive game that is fast to play, and like, for a fast to play game, it's a real shame that it's not being taken up by the community, I think. Yeah, there you go. That's all I can say. Anyway, hopefully this new pricing model is going to draw a few more people in. This new accessibility is going to get people playing. We need the TOs to kind of give it the thumbs up and agree, yep, Championship, probably a bit much. Let's draw people in so that Nemesis is the new way to play, with Championship as an alternative. And if we grow a scene in Nemesis to a point where people are, you know, really loving it and we're getting good numbers, we can consider a day 2 Championship format sort of thing. That's great, all for that. But I do think that Nemesis is a nice balance of Rivals, where you're really at the mercy of the developers to just nail every single set, and Championship, which is a little bit insane, and Rivals, where you can swap out the deck to the one that is actually good that season. I think I think that sounds pretty hot to me. I'm vibing. I'm not seething. I've run out of TikTok words. I apologize. Anyway, there you go. I just wanted to get that out there because that is how it is. And in theory, this solves one of the biggest issues that I hear most people say about Underworlds, which is that you have to chase cards. Nobody likes chasing cards. If you're like me, you came from X-Wing, it became a little bit insane to have to buy, you know, multiple multiple expensive ship packs to get one upgrade card, to get one proton torpedo, you know, to go play elsewhere. There you go. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I really would like Warhammer Underworlds to kind of take off again. That would be really cool. I think it's really, I think it has some of the, I think everybody agrees that it has some of the best sculpts from Warhammer, from GW at all. I'd love it if they could have the scene that makes it worthwhile playing as well, and ideally worthwhile for me to cover it. Because guys, I already have Kill Team. I have my niche game, right? I would love for Underworlds to become a second feather to my cap, bow to my quiver. I think it has a lot going for it. But we'll see. Anyway, guys, this has been Glass Half Dead talking about Underworlds. Do you want more Underworlds? Obviously, I realized that I didn't say anything of, like, how to play the game or anything like that in this. This was purely, hey, this is a new format that was unclear for me, so I spent 21 minutes explaining it. Crystal clear. Yeah, clear as glass, mate. Good job. But that's just me in a nutshell, isn't it? My bad. Yeah, there you go. Or do you not care about Underworlds and you just forgot how to turn the channel? My bad in that case too as well. Anyway, you could leave a like, a thumbs up, a comment, a subscribe. Check out my merch, which of course has nothing to do with Warhammer Underworlds. It's all Kill Team. And all that good stuff. That'd be sweet. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, this has been Glass Half Dead. Stay safe. Bye.